It's the Daily Dog.
Hey y'all, welcome back to the Daily Doug. Thanks for being with me today for what I think is going to be one of our more epic and special episodes. I am really glad that you're here today. I am stoked to be here. For the last several weeks, many people have been requesting, almost shouting at me. It's like, dude, Genesis, a Firth of Fifth. I think I said that right. A Firth of Fifth. $50 fine for so many F's in one title. This is a song we're going to do today. I am really excited to do it. A little bit about the song. It is from the Genesis album Selling England by the Pound that was put out in 1973. Most of the music that you'll hear in this composition was composed by keyboardist Tony Banks. This particular song, as I have read in about it, has a great bit of critical and fan appreciation. This is held up as one of the very prime examples of what a prog song, progressive rock song, can and should be. The guitar solo by Hackett in this is regarded as one of his finest parts of anything he ever recorded with Genesis. I've also read that the lyrics are kind of background in this. The music itself is the driver of the meaning of the piece, and the lyrics are not as intensely, let's say, relevant to the deeper meaning of the song. I've looked through the lyrics, and it looks, in a large sense, it's about a river, and like in a metaphorical sense, I think it's one of these things where the more things change, the more things stay the same. And we are sort of living in this existence, and the waves of life sort of come by. Sometimes we catch the wave and we ride a bit, and we go along for the ride. And sometimes we let that wave pass and we wait for another one. And at the end here, it says the sands of time were eroded by the river of constant change. So I think they're just talking about life and our experiences as we go through them. And it's more of just a fun journey listening to some great sounds that are composed and performed by Genesis. I will be frank with you. This is not the first time that I have heard this song. I have heard it in the past a few times, but I haven't heard it in a long time. I wanted to get reacquainted with it a little bit and spot check it a bit the other night. And I quickly realized that there's so much in this, and it's so complicated that I wanted to be able to almost study it just a little bit, just enough so that I could still react to things as if they're new, but also to be able to point out some really interesting things that I find in this piece. So that's kind of where we're coming from. It is still relatively new to me. I don't know every note by heart, but so I'll be rediscovering it and teaching it a little bit at the same time. It's an unbelievable piece. I can't wait to really hear it from beginning to end with you all. I could take 3 whole hour lectures just to talk about this song. So part of my preparation is figuring out, okay, what do I talk about and what do I let slide? Because we could get way into the weeds. It may be more into the weeds than you may want as we go, but that's what I do, and it's the way that I find music really fascinating, is the way that it's constructed and put together. What we're gonna try today is I'm gonna listen to the original studio recording. That was by far the suggestion of folks online. However, I'm going to be looking at a piano transcription version of it as the studio version plays. And both of these videos, one will be muted and one will hear, okay? And I like this piano transcription version because it gives us something, a visual record of what is going on that we can sort of clue into a bit. One video is 9 minutes and 31 seconds. One video is 9 minutes and 34 seconds. There will be a bit of out of syncness a little bit as the piano video doesn't quite get to the page turn at the exact same time that the recording gets to, but I think it'll be worth it to go through this and have this as a record to look at. I am ready to take a deep dive into this. I hope y'all are as well. This is going to be a Firth of Fifth by Genesis. I'm excited. Y'all ready? Okay, here we go. That repeats. The 2 and the 3 and the 4 and 5 and 1 and the 2 and the 1 and the 2 and the 3 and the 4 and 5 and 1 and the 2 and the 3 and the 4 and 5 and wow! It's going to repeat. Come on. Downbeat. And there they land. Right over in this case. Okay. It's a minute and 13 seconds into it. And I'm like, good Lord, wow. Right? As a keyboard player, I'm like completely enthralled by that opening. Okay, let's look at it. So a couple of things. This opening is laid out in much the same way as a classical composer might lay out the exposition of a sonata movement in a sonata, right, for piano. He's got this theme. These are odd meters, right? Just think combinations of 3 plus 3s and 2s. It's 3, 3, 3, 3, 2, 2, right? 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 5 and 6 in, right? 3, 6, 9, 12, 14, 16 different 16th notes. And you can just tell how they're put together by how they're grouped, right? So he has this opening 4-measure phrase. That's a very classical thing to do, a very Mozartian thing to do. He then repeats it. That's what these little dots are. So this repeats back to the beginning. And then once he gets to this spot, it looks and starts a lot like this, but it changes, right? And he starts putting in these A flats, and he starts moving away into this other little section. And he's in B flat at the beginning, although he is making use of a little bit of modal mixture, right? A combination of B flat major and B flat minor. That's where you get these G flats and you get these A flats in through there, and you get these D flats, right, in through there. Further on into this, how do they get from B flat to, what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different sharps. That is F sharp major, right? How do you get from from B flat to F sharp? Right? Well, it's another one of these chromatic third relationships, right? Because think about it. If B flat is the root of a key, if we go to F sharp major, F sharp's third is A sharp, which is inharmonically in equal or even temperament, right? Equal temperament, the same as a B flat. I find it interesting here. He's been going along with these A flat chords. He changes the quality of this chord from previous. If I can go back a screen. Yeah, he's been in these A flat chords right down through here. A flat major chords, back and forth between A flat major and E flat major. And then when you turn the page, or you get to this next measure, it flips from A flat major to A flat minor. And there we get that C natural that's also a C flat that can turn into a B natural as well, and harmonically. And so it's one of these shifts that allows you to then use the A flat in that chord and the G sharp in this next chord as a common pivot. And this G sharp is harmonized as part of a C sharp minor chord. And then that just loads us in, and we get Fa, Mi, Re, Do down to F sharp. There as they start pulling away, and they're in F sharp for a little bit. He uses the exact same trick to get back to B flat, where as this repeats and comes back the second time, this A flat minor chord, he starts thinking of this not as a G sharp chord, a G sharp minor chord, which would be the 2 chord in F sharp major, but as an A flat minor chord, and that allows him to do this G flat up here as not an F sharp, right? Not an F sharp that was up here as the root of this key, but now it's the 7th of that chord, and it can resolve down to this F natural, and that F gives us the ability to then be 5-1 back in B flat. It's really slick, and these are slippery little minute changes that gets us into like different shards of the circle of fifths. It's really impressive, but we're going to move on past this. So in a second, at the beginning here, he starts in B flat, he ends up in F sharp for a little bit, and then he gets back to B flat, and this opening here, right? This is just like the opening, and once we get into this area, he sets up F sharp as the dominant, and then we land in a good old-fashioned B chord, and that's where the lyrics start. So we're at about 1:13 there. I'm gonna back it up to about 1:10, maybe. Let's see how this works. 1:11, and this is gonna be 1:11. Okay.
See the course laid down long before.
Now he's over the E chord, the 4 chord.
The sheep
Where they were.
remain inside their pen, though many times they've seen the way to leave.
A sharp will get us back to C, and that's going to repeat.
Past homes of men
Sharp, F sharp, G natural, F sharp is dominant to B, but it's a dominant 7th sound on B. Goes to E.
to see reflected there, the trees, the sky, the lily fair, the scene of
Lands on G, sets up a chromatic motion from G sharp to F sharp, sorry, A sharp, and ends up landing on E.
cuts off the town from view like a cat.
The E moves up by a half step to F. It kind of hangs out like a new dominant, and then they land in G somehow. And the same type of thing that they did before, I'm going to stop this again. They did that chromatic third before, where they went from the A flat minor chord and they picked that A flat as a G sharp and then changed the chord underneath it. He did the same thing here. They land on this G chord out of nowhere. And then that G holds in that chord, and then we harmonize G minor 7 over the top of C. It's totally cool. We're about right, I think. Here we go. And then that C resolves up to C sharp to get us back into these sharp sounds. Down to Tay, Sol, delay, now that's freaking cool. What the hell chord is that, right? Well, we can see. Let's take a look. So, we landed it's amazing. This is like the best puzzle I can put together on a Wednesday. I love it so much. So we start in back on this B chord through here, and he's got a descending bass line from the B down to the A natural, down to the G sharp, and then he's got this B over F sharp chord. He starts doing this modal mixture again, switching back and forth between a major key and a minor key. And we get this G natural and this A natural. Well, that's flat 6 and flat 7 in B, but it's also 4 and 5, subdominant and dominant in the key of D. And that's where he goes, to D. But it's not a D chord, sort of. It's an E major chord over the top of this D chord. There's a couple ways we can talk about that. It's a Lydian fourth. If this is a D and an F sharp, and the F sharp's the major third, this G sharp all the way up here and over in here is a Lydian fourth, an augmented fourth above that chord. And that's what gives it its sound. It's really interesting sound, but it's basically an E major chord over the top of a D major chord. And that's what that sound ends up being like. Let's see, where are we? I think we're okay. Let's keep going. Turns into a B dominant chord, which gets us to E. This next section I think is going to be an E, and I think this is the flute part coming in here. Unbelievably awesome texture change for the middle of this piece. Minor 5, minor 4, then it's dominant, major, but on the upper octave it turns minor on the way up. Just neat little pockets of sound. Cool, so this E moves up, just like it did before, to an F chord, and then that F goes up to C, and then these two measures get played 3 times. And it's basically 2, 5 in the key of B flat. Now we go to here. This turned too soon. Little mixture then. And we're back to B flat where we started. Repeat. 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and 1 E, and then 2 E, and then 1, and then 2, and then 3, and then 4, and 5, and 1 E, and then 2 E, and then 2, 3, 4, and 5, and 1, 2, 3, repeat, and. Now we're here. Woo. Now this gets played 3 times. 2 and the 3 and the 4 and 5 and 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2. Down. Such a cool rhythmic lick. Gets us into E minor. Okay, where are we? 549. Wow. Okay, that goes back a little bit. It's amazing, isn't it? I like just in that little bit section that we just went past. It's a lot of reprisal. Some of it is reprisal of what we heard at the very beginning, but then a lot of it becomes developmental. He's developing some of the same things and moving them into some different little key areas, and they're fleeting, they're short-lived, and pop back and forth. Again, that follows the way a classical composer might move in from the exposition or the introductory portion of a sonata movement into the second section of a sonata movement, which would be developing, the development section, developing these original themes that came in the first section. In through here, we're on this, it's so cool, man. We're on this B flat dominant 7th chord, right? A B flat dominant 7th chord should be dominant to E flat. right? But it goes to C sharp minor. How and why do they do that? It's a weird little toggle that doesn't happen very often. Again, it's an inharmonic sort of chromatic change. He's taken the seventh of that B flat chord, which is an A flat, and turned it into the fifth of a C sharp minor chord as a G sharp. Right, and it allows this B flat in this key chord to then resolve up to a B natural and then become the seventh of the C sharp chord. And then you get La, Ti, Do in E, and you've got this D over the top of it. It becomes like an extended sort of ninth in E minor. But that's how he moves from basically B flat to E. Right? It's a very fascinating way that he does that. And again, it's just through taking that one common tone that's in both of those chords and just flipping the chords around it. Great stuff. Where are we? I want to back up to about 5 minutes and 38 seconds. Okay. Here we are. Guitar solo section. Come on, catch up with us. Oh, shoot. To the ninth, and that's still a ninth of that chord. And just back and forth between one chords and four chords. That was in the flute part from earlier, right? All of this under this line is part of a repeat. It's going to repeat back the way that they've saved in notation space. Then we're here. Now we're there. Repetition of this section allows them to do something again that we just heard, but it takes on a slightly different and bigger theme. And then it resolves into the relative major where we've been. Instead of E minor, now it's E major, which we were at earlier, like way earlier in the piece. Over a pedal E. Okay, we're almost there, y'all. So this is the coolest part here towards the end. So he's been in E, so he wants to get back to B. You could just go straight from E to B as like 4-1, but that's not what he does, right? So he's been in E for a while, and he switches. It's a really great arrival coming out of this second ending to land in E major, where we had been for all of the solo in E minor. And then we're going back and forth. It's a one chord. It's kind of 2/1 to sort of move this along. And then as he gets to this next little spot, he starts breaking down E major. He doesn't have to move to B, but he does anyway. So he breaks down E major by taking away the leading tone, right? So we get B minor over E, right? This minor dominant. And then we get these G naturals and C naturals as well. Now it's like we're back in E minor. Again, modal mixture. We haven't changed keys. We're just switching back and forth between using the notes that are in E's major scale and E's minor scale and using them sort of interchangeably. And then what he's able to do, now that he's introduced this D, now that he's introduced this G, now he can get to this G chord. And then that gets back to the same little progression that they used to move back into B from earlier, moving up from G sharp to A sharp, and then they land on B, right? So there's this, he sets up this G here, and he lands on the G there. You get the G sharp, you get the A sharp, and then all of a sudden, we're back where they started in that first little spot. And I think we're getting close to the end, y'all. I'm gonna go back here. Let's see what happens. There's the G sharp, the A sharp, B.
Now as the river dissolves in sea,
same as before.
so Neptune has claimed another soul.
And B, but it's tonic, but it's a dominant chord. And then
And
it
so
goes to the other
with
stuff.
gods and men, the sheep remain inside their pen until the shepherd leads his flock away. The sands of time were eroded by the river of constant change.
And they land on one, but it's not one. I think it's one of the more astute things about this entire piece. Remember where we said that the main idea of the lyrics is the more things change, the more they stay the same. You land on what you think is solid ground, but it's not quite solid ground, and everything is still moving, right? It's just a reminder that the next wave is still coming, right? That life goes on. On this chord here, it should be just a B major chord. It's set up to land on tonic, but they've done a couple things to it. One, they've added a suspended fourth, which breaks down the sound of that being a tonic triad. They've also added the seventh. So they've done two things to break it down so that it's not really home bass. The bass feels like it's home bass, but the rest of it just doesn't give us a sound like it's home bass, right? And then I love the sending. We're going to get back into it a little bit. Can I back up? That's way over there. Let's do this.
The sands of time were eroded by the river of
Here it comes.
constant change.
Constant change on a suspended seventh chord. And there's the river rolling right along. And this transcription put an ending chord on it, but the original recording just kind of fades out. I mean, how cool is that? I want to hear the ending again. I know we've heard it like twice, but I mean, come on. Let's
So with gods
hear
and
it again.
men, the sheep remain inside their pen until the shepherd
got-
leads his flock away.
I fall. I went back too far. There's the B. This last big phrase. The sands of time were eroded by the river of constant change.
Of constant change.
And it's just A chords and E chords. Is it in B? Is it in E? Is it in A? Which direction do you choose? Right? Which wave are you going to take? It's totally brilliant. I had either never given that song the chance, or somebody had never like really made me sit down and listen to it. I can't believe I'm like the age that I am, and this is really the first time that I'm coming to an appreciation of this piece. It's one of maybe the top 5 or 10 best popular music songs by like a popular band that I think I've ever heard. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. Tony Banks is obviously classically trained. The way that they've laid out these ideas mimic in a large scale the way that a classical composer might start laying out ideas for a sonata movement. But he's got a few tricks up his sleeve that are pretty brilliant. If I had anything negative to say about the piece, it would be that this piece is 9.5 minutes long, right? There's a lot of music in it, even for it being a 9.5 minute song. I think that the piece could be made even better by having a little bit more space in it. I know that the lyrics take up a relatively small amount of time in the overall scheme of the piece, and that it's mostly an instrumental. That's okay to me. And I think it is pretty well paced, but I would love to hear, like if this was an 11-minute song or 12-minute song instead of a 9.5 minute song, it might be even better, because it gives us a little bit more time to sort of clue into all of these different changes that are really fast going. But I'm absolutely astounded by it. And I'm sure that all of y'all that have suggested this piece knew that I was going to be just thrown for a loop with this one. I'm really happy that we were able to find this little piano version that could help us visualize some of the little tricks that they're doing and going back and forth and using these chromatic pivots. I hope that wasn't too distracting for you, especially when it didn't quite sync up, but you make do with what you have, right? Genesis, a Firth of Fifth. That was fantastic. Wow. I'm going to stop talking because we're over 30 minutes into the video, and I really don't have anything more to say about it. The only thing is, thank you. Thank you for being with me for the journey through this piece. I hope you enjoyed it. I surely did. And I look forward to listening to more of Genesis and including more of their songs on the channel in the coming days and weeks. Thanks for being with me today, and we will see you next time for another edition of The Daily Doug.